Given the current political climate, I'm hoping I don't have to explain why being able to explain what you do as an engineer and why it matters is important. Hopefully this is kind of obvious. And this isn't just for people doing research in academia who need to kind of justify to Congress or the public, okay, why should your tax money fund my research? This matters if you want to go into industry too, right? If you want to go do a startup and you want to make a pitch to an investor, or you're working in a company and you have to report to upper management or the CEO or something, you need to be able to explain what you do in kind of non-technical language to people who don't have the same background as you. And I have found that events with kids are actually a really good way to practice that in kind of a lower stress environment where there isn't money or your job on the line or something. Because to give an example specific to this class, many times the language you would use to talk to kids, for example, who haven't taken a physics class yet, is the same as you would use to talk to an adult who hasn't taken a physics class for 20 or 30 years, right? Like, you shouldn't use the words voltage and current when talking to a 9-year-old, okay? They have maybe a nebulous sense of what electricity is, but they have no idea what volts and amps are. And the same thing is true for adults, right? The terms power, electricity, voltage all kind of get thrown around in everyday language interchangeably. We know in physics they have specific meanings in specific units, but people who haven't taken the class yet or haven't taken it in a long time don't necessarily know that. So it's important to kind of adjust your language to your audience. And when you spend all day around other people who are used to using that technical language, you kind of forget that you need to adjust your vocabulary. So, and I find that events like kids like this, with kids like this, can be fun and just a good way to practice that. The other reason I think it's really important is when you hear people talk about representation in STEM, right, and kids need to see people like them to understand that they can do something. Kind of a really personal anecdote about that. So I'm an engineer, my wife is a veterinarian, and my daughter is now 9. And we tried to make it a point when she was younger to kind of avoid gender stereotyping about domestic roles and careers and all that. Like, we made sure she had blocks and trucks to play with and not just dolls and kitchen stuff. We took her to science museums, all those things. And when she was maybe 3 years old, I forget exactly what we were talking about, but I asked her, like, oh, when you grow up, do you want to be an engineer like mommy, or sorry, an engineer like daddy, or a veterinarian like mommy? And she went, silly daddy, girls can't be engineers. And I was like, what? Like, but we have gone out of our way to, like, prevent you from thinking that. Like, my head exploded. Like, who told you that? And it turned out nobody had told her, like, girls can't do math, they're only boys or engineers. She just assumed in her little 3-year-old brain, mommy is a veterinarian, daddy is an engineer, therefore all veterinarians are women and all engineers are men, right? Like, our family is her world, right? So kids just extrapolate their little bubble and assume that is how the rest of the universe works. So when you hear people say, like, kids need to see someone like them to understand they can do it, that is extremely literal. This is, again, very personal anecdote, you know, one sample, but I didn't really get it until that happened to me. So clearly, as a bald, middle-aged white guy, I am not exactly the face of diversity in engineering. So I'm hoping I could get some students to attend this event too. Obviously, not all types of diversity are easily externally visible, so maybe this is more obvious in some cases than others. But there's going to be a lot of families with kids at the event. This kind of event is fun. I'll talk a little bit more about how I actually kind of turned this into a career next week, and kind of the final bonus lecture about RoboBees and all that stuff.